Hey Fractal, Max Forte back with another video. This time it's a subject, actually many subjects have been broached and brought to my attention. Many questions have been asked around these subjects. So I thought, why not put a video about these subjects? And it's called the top 5 mistakes to avoid or to try not to make when fragrance collecting, or what I like to say, when you get bitten by the bug of the fragrance world. So if you're an avid collector, if you just like buying fragrance because you love to smell great, whatever the case may be, if you just got into this fragrance game, I'm going to give you 5 subjects, 5 topics that I think are very important to talk about when collecting or buying fragrances. So stay tuned, it's coming up right now. All right, and number 5, we're going to talk about the first subject: don't blind buy. So I'm a victim of this, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this are as well. We must try not to buy and buy. Why? Because it'll lead to a lot of disappointments and also a lot of wasteful spending. When I first got into this game and I got bitten by the bug, especially when I discovered the niche world, you get so crazy and caught up with the fever of owning all the blends, all the different companies, and you want to have a little bit of everything. So you end up blind buying because you think you're going to find the best fragrance out there, and it'll lead to a lot of disappointments. So I'd say do a lot of testing, try to get some decants if you could, and try not to blind buy. I know I've decreased that a lot. I still do it. It's still exciting to wait for that fragrance, not knowing what it's going to smell like, see if it's going to sweep you off your feet. But try to limit yourself with the blind buys. It's going to save you a lot of disappointments. At number 4, we're going to talk about believe in the hype. It goes hand in hand with blind buying. Believe in the hype. We all have our favorite reviewers. I know I do. Reviewers that really got me into the fragrance game, if you will. But believe in the hype could also lead to a lot of disappointments. A lot of times you watch your favorite reviewer or your top lists, and they're going to name their top 5 fragrances, and you're going to really have that in you. Or if you're in the fragrance blogs or pages on Facebook, and you see what's the flavor of the month or the flavor of the week, the fragrance that everyone's talking about, like Fève Délicieuse, for example, by Dior, and you may have the urge to just pull the trigger and believe the hype and buy a bottle of that and drop a couple $100s in a bottle. And you know what? That fragrance may not work for you on your skin or your environment or your taste. So really, again, same thing as blind buying, believe in the hype, try to get a decant, test that fragrance out, go to the store, get a little tester, see if it works for you before you believe the hype. That's another topic that I'd like to reiterate. At number 3, this one here is a little bit, I'm also a little guilty of that. I'm a little bit of an oversprayer, but I'd like to ask of you to try not to. This is one that I have a hard time doing because I really like to overspray. I'm a heavy sprayer. Try not to overspray. You don't want to choke people around you, especially at your work environment. If you're in an office environment, if you work at a clinic or hospital, it's a no-no. Just be careful with overspraying, especially when you have EDP concentrations, eau de parfum, parfum extract, fragrances that are 18% or above concentration. Just be cautious. 2 to 3 sprays will do you fine. Sometimes you're going to fatigue your nose, you're going to think you can't smell it, but it's really powerful and very strong, and sometimes overbearing. People around you may have allergies, so go easy on the trigger. Don't overspray. I'm a victim of that. I do a lot of overspraying, so try to control your triggers. All right. At number 2, this one here is a very not sensitive, but it's something that I know a lot of people can be skeptical. I know I was in the beginning until I found a situation that I could save a lot more money. And this will help you along the way. If you're new at this, especially if you're new at this, you're not really aware of your surroundings, try not to buy full retail if you can. There are many companies out there, great retailers online, fragrance websites with discounted, 30, 40, 50, sometimes even more discount off retail, as well as people in the fragrance community themselves, people that sell fragrances with discount. Just try it. You can buy new fragrances at discount. You can buy testers if you're patient. If something is released, and we all get the fever of getting something that's brand new, an intense version, an extreme version, a noir version, whatever the case may be, something that's newly released and it gets a lot of limelight, it gets a lot of talk. We want to have the fragrance right away, and it's gonna mean you're gonna cough up a lot of dough. If you have a little patience, wait a couple of months. For sure, sooner or later, it's going to show up on the discount sites as well as the fragrance community in forums and groups at discount. So if you have a little patience, don't pay retail. It's going to be wasteful. You're going to waste a lot of money. All right, so try to save money by not paying retail if you can. Last but not least is one that I really like to talk about. Number one, I think to try to avoid is not totally disregarding designer thinking, because when we get into this game, this hobby, this passion, you may think that niche and indie companies and luxury high-end brands are the topmost and the popmost of the best, with quality ingredients and performance. That's not always necessarily truth. A lot of times you may just pay for the name. The quality may not all the time be there. So just be cautious, be conscious of that. You don't have to spend a lot of money to smell good. There's a lot of videos out there that will prove you that if you do a side-by-side comparison with, niche expensive brands versus designer cheap brands, cheapos, out there, cheapies that are, do a fantastic job. A lot of times those fragrances have that universal appeal. It has that, they do a lot of research at these companies. So they make sure that these fragrances have the common nose out there will appreciate those scents, those designer brands, if you will. And most of those niche indie companies that do the unique, exquisite, more intriguing scents will not have the most complement ratio, if you will. So don't quickly disregard your designer companies. There's a lot of good qualities out there, a lot of good companies out there that have quality products like Dior's, Yves Saint Laurent's, Dolce & Gabbana. All these companies release good fragrances. They have in the past, and they still will. So don't disregard designer companies thinking that you're only going to get good smelling and good performance fragrances with the niche expensive fragrances. So that's it for me. I hope you appreciate this little video. Let me know your comments down below. Let me know what you think your top mistakes are to try to avoid in the fragrance game or hobby that we are in. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I think these are the top 5 that I'd like to avoid, and I'm glad to share with you. Please share with us yours. I'd love to hear them. And I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you enjoyed. This was Max Forte. Talk to you soon. Smell well.